Hey, it's Pt.2 here, and it is about time that I came back to my death flag show no signs of stopping. It's been about 2 years since the last time I talked about this series, so it's probably a good idea if I give you a quick recap on what happened last time. The old video is still there, but you're here, so why backtrack, you know what I'm saying? So let's start with the recap. So an ordinary university student from Japan gets reincarnated into his favorite video game. Which would be a dream to some, but there is a catch though. He gets turned into the most hated character in the entire game, Harold Stokes. This is a character that deserves to die, and he does. But the thing is that the university student from Japan doesn't want to. Now the question is, with his game knowledge, will he be able to prevent his death? Well, it's going to be really hard for 2 reasons. The first reason, he gets reincarnated right into a death flag. You see, Harold is a villain in this game, and one of the most evil things he's done to make the hero's party hate him is kill the mom of one of the female leads. Apparently, as the MC was slowly getting adjusted to his situation, a maid knocks over a flower vase, and that is the excuse to kill her. So as the father of Harold Stokes is about to kill the maid, the MC's body starts to move and Harold starts to take over. He calmly states that he will personally execute the maid himself, which is the first death flag in the game. Which is the second reason why this is going to be really hard. You see, everything that the MC does has to be in character of Harold Stokes. So no matter the intent the MC has, it will always seem like Harold Stokes says it, and Harold Stokes is not a good person. So this is going to be really hard because the MC will need to try to take down these death flags while being in character. There's also a cherry on top of this story because Harold is still in that body somewhere deep inside. Now, this is where my first video comes, and it covers this in detail, but to sum it up, there's this elaborate scheme that Harold has to kind of fake the death of the mother and send both the daughter and the maid straight to the hero's family. And this plan works at the end. He ends up sending off the daughter and the mother straight off into the sunset, into their new lives. Well, he has to still deal with the consequences because he, in everyone else's mind, executed those two. Which leads us to this video. What is the aftermath of killing the daughter and the maid? So, the chapter starts with him being confronted by his parents, and he tells them he burnt them so bad there wasn't even a corpse. And do you want to know how they responded? They are proud that they have such a talented son. The main character clearly wasn't expecting this. So he actually kinda got annoyed that his parents didn't even question him. But he quickly moves on and considers this whole operation a success. And as he's continuing his research from chapter 1, someone walks in. Pardon me? Hello, Mr. Harold? What are you doing? It has nothing to do with you. Hurry and close the door, Sin. That said, why are you here? What? How cold? Didn't you accompany me on the night of the final full moon, even though I was on a wagon? Silence! Do not thoughtlessly speak at that day's events, unless you want to become monster feed. Yes. The servant is clearly annoying Harold, but he doesn't kick him out, which makes the servant think about this just a bit deeper. Even though Harold seems cold on the outside, he actually cares about his servants, or at least that's just how it looks like. So, since the servant wasn't kicked out, he starts to prod into what Harold's doing. Belltubers, Bruna, Gruto? Are you growing them to eat? Shall I cut up your intestines and shove them into your stomach along with the flower pot? That is what came out, but what he really meant to say was, shall I feed them to you, Zen? And of course, the servant answers with I will take a pass. Nonetheless, it seems like your breeding method's a bit of a mess. There are ones where I've mixed this with water, and ones where I haven't. A life potion. Now this is where the MC's in-game knowledge comes in. People in this world have not really tried experimenting with life potions and plants. But now the MC is claiming that using this method would actually promote growth and increase yield. There is a catch though, which explains why people haven't tried this before. If you pour an undiluted potion onto a plant, it would just wither and die. So the reason why he's breeding all these plants is to find the right ratio. Then he throws Zen one of the crops. Eat it. Eh? Raw. You're the one who poked your head in. Feel free to curse your careless actions. It is obvious that the servant does not want to eat it, and the MC tries to take back his command. Forget it. Whatever. But he is too late. What is this? It is sweeter than normal and insanely tasty, you know? Pay attention to Harold's reaction. He's surprised, because he hasn't tried it yet. But that doesn't matter because everything worked out at the end. He found a way to save himself by saving others. You see, the farmers of the Stokes territory have been doing very poorly, no thanks to his parents. And the game kinda overlooks this detail. So if nothing was to be done, there might be an uprising. This is where Harold's life potion farming technique comes in. And now that he knows that it works and is safe to eat, he can go to the next step. Okay, serve that to the cooks. Their taste tests, their comparisons to ordinary food, its markability, and all other details as well. Inquire about them all. Understood. Also, please, if anyone asked you where you got those or whose orders you are following, it is all a secret, right? I know, Mr. Harold. Well then, I'll be off. What a troublesome guy. After saying that, he just stands by the door, watching his servant leave. And after a moment of silence, he says this. What is he so enthusiastic about? There are so many things in this moment that I just want to talk about real quick. Because it honestly feels like that servant is testing Harold. When he gets introduced, in the 3rd chapter, there are no names, it's 2 guards, 1 coachman, and they're kind of nervous. They are being told to sneak out the daughter and the maid that are supposed to be executed. If they get caught, they are all dead. But throughout their journey, they're not nervous at all because of how much effort Harold put into this plan. There's just a small detail that I want to point out because Zen, who was the coachman of that journey, was not acting like he was right now. He is being loud and obnoxious and he knows it. So he was probably expecting to be kicked out. But instead of being kicked out, he actually learns some more about Harold. For some reason, he actually remembers Zen's name. We didn't know Zen's name until this moment. And then he lets him into the room. He doesn't have to let him into the room. It is these little things that show that servant that Harold might actually care. And when Harold's back is turned and he confirms this detail, he smiles. He trusts Harold, which explains why he took a bite of that plant. I know he heard the explanation, but testing anything that is an experiment is kind of scary. That is why he hesitated and Harold tried to stop him. Do you know why I bring this up? It's because I don't remember if I said this in the first video. I am sure that anyone who is on Harold's side believes he is a tsundere. Or, at the very least, cannot express himself properly. When that servant brings up that wagon ride as a joke, Harold straight up threatens him. And he responds like a child being nagged at. No matter what Harold says or does, he probably has the best intentions. That's why he is so excited at the very end, because he believes that he is doing the right thing. Or at least that's how I see things, you know? Yeah. There is more to this chapter, but I'll just sum it up. 2 points. The first being that the main character cannot fully utilize Harold's body properly because it is gifted. That explains in-game logic why Harold was so strong every time the main character of the original game fought him. And the second thing is that we get introduced to his fiance's family situation. Their territory is being inflicted by miasma, which is messing up their economy. So, as the last-ditch effort, the head of the Sumeragi family gives up their daughter reluctantly. She doesn't really do anything right now, but later she plays a really cool part in the story that I will talk about next time. Anyway, so Harold is confronting one of the financial advisors for the Stokes family. After handing the man the document, he waits a moment, then says this. That is a copy of the statement of revenue and expenses that you drafted, you rich. Are there any major errors in the statement? No, there are not. Don't worry. I didn't call you out to cause trouble with you or anything. These last few years, the Stokes family finances have been sinking into the red. The biggest reason is my parents' extravagance to make themselves look good. We are currently compensating with the family's inheritance and heavy taxes, but that too will not be able to last. It is only increasing the burden on the citizens. Do you disagree with this opinion? I do admit that there is that sort of trend. In fact, people who have had to close down their farms due to financial difficulty and immigrants from the Stokes territory have been increasing. Yeah, it's an emergency. Well, it's not that bad, but at this rate, eventually the Stokes family will collapse. Well, for a bastard like you. I think the Stokes family crumbling would be beneficial, though. Please do not say such a thing. If someone were to overhear us, they may interpret it as an intention to rebel. At any rate, the populace, particularly the agricultural sector, if we do not increase our returns from them, I envision bankruptcy. Therefore, I have called upon you, Jake. A bastard like you who's our inspector for the agricultural sector. What do you mean? Zen. Yep. These are... Now, don't say such a thing. Just relish in Mr. Harold's homemade red root. More like you shouldn't be butting in, you reject. Do you want to become fertilizer? I'm sorry? Jake doesn't really know how to react there, so he decides to try it. It's sweet. I know, right? Why the hell are you acting proud? Anyways, that is a crop I raised using a proprietary technique. To spread the technique, give me your damn assistance. Jake has an obvious answer to this question. Why him? If you have been paying attention to the conversation, you might have noticed some things that Harold says that might point out why. At the very start, Jake is given a document that he made, and he's asked if there's any errors with it. Harold knows how his family is doing because he asked the butler to collect information earlier, but he wants to hear it from Jake himself. And Jake just gives it to him straight. He doesn't lie about the information or try to hide his opinion. So the answer to why is because he is competent. But the MC can't say that because he's Harold and he has to stay in character. Now, if Jake was so competent, you might be asking why the Stokes family is still collapsing. Harold just flat out answers that question. It's because if he voiced his opinions to his dad, he would probably be put in jail. That startles Jake, but the servants following Harold actually crack a smile, which causes Harold to respond like this. Well, that's a natural response. Because if not, then it would be like having another Zen, and my worries would increase. What do you mean by that? You should use your head a bit too, idiot. Well then, as you wish, I'll tell you. This is the key. And then he proceeds to explain what the life potion technique entails. I'm just going to sum it up because it goes on for a few pages. It's going to start with a few farmers with a portion of their land. The reason they're doing this is to minimize the financial risk just in case this all fails. There's also a plan to provide leaf to farmers who cannot give more land for this program. So the main character has really thought this out. Since even if this plan is successful, they have to make sure that no one farmer benefits more than the other. So the plan is to make one mega farm by combining a bunch of farms. Now to go over the reason why they're going through all this trouble. If the life potion technique is done properly, things just grow faster. They just need to figure out the right ratio to life potion to water because that affects the size and taste of the plant. For example, that red Groot we keep on seeing took 5 days to grow, when in reality it should take 2 months. Now there are some issues with this plan, but the MC has thought this through. The most costly part of this plan, the life potion, can be easily mitigated by using expired potions, or ones that cannot be used on humans anymore. And the biggest problem of them all, oversaturating the market and leading your competitors to their deaths. He's just going to end up controlling the supply, but remember why he's doing this in the first place. Because if people found out that he invented this technique and it screwed over the lives of other farmers, they would rise up. And this puts Harold into a moment of just thinking. It must have been a moment too long because someone calls out to him. Mr. Harold. Originally, I wanted to begin after assembling a specialized team, but if my father, who loves money, were to catch wind of this, he would try to monopolize the LP farming method. That's why we should start by first going small scale, setting strict limits on the amount we harvest. And if we gradually gain economic flexibility, we would be able to test other crops as well. This is when the MC notices that his crowd is kind of just staring at him, at least the ones that can contribute. Do you bastards enjoy giving stupid looks to people? This surprises the crowd. And when they try to justify their silence, their answers have one thing in common. They are surprised with how much time and effort Harold put into this plan. The thing is that their silence is not actually a good thing for the main character. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure he's not qualified to speak on this matter. Remember, this is your average Japanese citizen in the body of a child. So the fact that two people who have probably more knowledge are not speaking on this matter at all is really worrying. So he tries to say this. I was only proposing materials for the framework at best, and here I wanted to rely on you two to fill me on the specifics too. But it comes out like this. I'm telling you, I don't want some yes man. If you feel that something is off, advise me without omission. You hear me? They got the message, but it goes a little farther than that. Again, the people around Harold like to think about his actions a little bit too deep. But it always ends with the same conclusion. Harold could be a great leader, but he's a bit weird. Now to finally close this chapter, to get back to why we're having this meeting in the first place. Well then, I'll ask you one last time. Jake, will you become my arms and legs? And of course he agrees. Harold does have to have the last words, so this is how the chapter ends. If you won't be useful to me, then don't wield it for me, but for the pitiful population out there. If they don't do what I propose, they won't be able to survive, since they're all weaklings. Typical tsundere behavior. It's not like he actually cares, baka. Now that pretty much wraps up the video. I hope it was worth the wait. And now you're gonna have to probably wait a long time because the next chapter is he gets engaged. Whoops, I spoiled it earlier. But that only matters if you decide to pick up the story because this manga is catching up to the web novel and I'm pretty excited on that part. So don't wait for me. I always recommend checking out the story yourself. This next part is probably the part that I actually remember the most in the entire series. So yeah, I guess that's it for me for now. Like always, please like, comment, and subscribe. Peace. Oh, you're still here. You know what's funny? I just noticed that I use the same voices all the time in my videos. And I'm probably not gonna stop because they're fun to do. Anyways, that's it. Peace.